Hi everyone. So the day has finally arrived. CAT registration has started from today, 1st August. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire form filling guidelines for CAT 24. Please watch the video till the end so that you don't make any mistakes while filling the form. So let's get started. The first thing is you have to go to the CAT website, which is imcat.ac.in. So if you go to the CAT website, you will be able to see this is the home screen. And there are important dates, so let's first go through that. When the notification came out, we had anyway covered those dates, but let's have a quick look at that. So firstly, the registration has started 1st August from 10 o'clock and it will continue till 13th September till 5 p.m. And then the test is going to be conducted on 24th November. The admit card release will happen on the 5th November. Now what you need to do is there are a couple of options on the right hand side. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly walk you through all of these. The first thing is CAT 23 scorecard. Now, in case anybody had registered for CAT and taken the CAT last year, then you will be able to still download your CAT 23 scorecard. I hope people had already done it that point of time. So this is immaterial for those of you who are taking it for the very first time. The second thing is this, which is registration of non-IM institutions. Now, a lot of times students think that this is for colleges that are apart from IIMs and you need to register through this. That is not the case. This is not for students. So this is for institutions who are going to be accepting the CAT scores. So this is not for you. You're not supposed to click on this. What is relevant for you is these two options. The first of which is new candidate registration and the second is registered candidate login. Now, when you're registering for the very first time, you are creating your account, you have to click on new candidate registration. Once you have created your account, you're logging in for let's say the second, third time, etc. Then you are supposed to click on registered candidate login. At the top, you will be able to see the list of IIMs which are going to be accepting the CAT score. And then there are a few more options at the top right corner, starting from home, about us. So we are on the home screen right now. About us, exam cities, FAQs and contact us. The FAQs section is very important. So I would suggest that all of you go through the FAQs section at least once to figure out if there are any queries that you have and you will be able to find answers to your queries there. If you still have any questions, feel free to drop a comment and we'll try and get back at the earliest. So for now, let's move on. And before we actually start filling the form, there are a couple of things that I want you to keep ready. Now this overall exercise is going to take you roughly about 1 to 1.5 hours to even 2 hours, depending on how many documents you have to upload or how much data you have to enter. So a couple of things that you will need before you get started, starting with your photograph. Now regarding photo, it should not be more than 6 months old and it should have white or off-white background. They have given some examples as well. So when you actually start filling the form, the section where you are actually supposed to upload your photo, they have given some nice samples. So have a look at that. The other thing is regarding dimension, regarding the size, etc. And the maximum file size that they have given is going to be 1 MB. The file format is JPEG. Now please note that if you have to resize your picture, your photograph, your signature, you can always use a website called picresize.com. It's a very simple thing to do. You just upload your photo or signature and you can reduce the size or adjust the dimension of the photo. Now the next thing is you're supposed to upload the same photograph that you're going to put on the admit card on the test day. So ensure that you click a new photo in case you don't have it, because that is something that you will be using on the actual test day as well. Moving on to the next set of things, which is going to be, now regarding signature, again pretty much same things, but the maximum file size is 80 KB, dimensions and all of that is given, so you can go through that. Regarding photograph, signature, SCST, NCOBC, PWD, EWS certificate, this should be scanned using a scanner only. A lot of times what students do is they end up taking a photo of it using their camera, the phone camera, and then they try to upload it. And these documents are not very clear then. So instead of that, you are supposed to use a scanner. So ensure that you use a scanner to scan all the documents that you have. Moving on to the next thing, which is regarding category certificate and disability certificate. The prescribed format has been given on the CAT website. So on the CAT website, you will see the format for the category certificate and disability certificate and so on. If you have any questions on that, please visit the FAQ section where you will find those details. Now regarding academic details, so your 10, 12 graduation, master's, professional degree, so keep all of these documents ready because you will have to enter the information that is there. So for example, why do you need your 10th standard mark sheet right now? Is because you are supposed to enter those marks in the actual form. You are supposed to convert your CGPA grades to percentage. We'll talk about that as we progress. And finally, you'll also need your work experience if that is applicable. So your full-time work ex after graduation until 31st July is what you are supposed to enter. And finally, to make the payment, you are going to require all the details in terms of your net banking, wallet, credit cards, whatever it is that you're going to use. Once you have all of this in place, you're ready to begin your CAT application. So let's have a look at that. Now on the main website, on the home screen itself, once you scroll down, there are a couple of things that you will see. Firstly, you will see a lot of things such as CAT advertisement, how the percentile score calculation works, what is the selection process, what is the eligibility, the information bulletin, and so on. A lot of important documents, you can go through it. The second thing is CAT 24 registration guide. So again, if you want to have a physical registration guide that you want to go through, you can have a look at this one. And on the right side, you have all the certificates. So you have all the formats, whether it is authorization, scribe, identification, NCOBC, EWS, SCST certificate, and so on. So all the formats have been given to you. You don't have to go anywhere to search for these formats. A lot of times students have this question that I have NCOBC certificate or I have EWS certificate in a particular format, which is not the same as the CAT form, right? Then what do I do? Not same as this format that is given. So what do I do in that case? Now under FAQs, it is clearly mentioned as to what should be the contents of the certificate. Now if let's say the certificate that you have has those contents, then you don't have to worry. But if the contents are different, then you will have to get a new certificate in the format that is given. So they have nicely given it in FAQs. Please have a look at that so that you don't make any mistakes. All right, let's move on for now and we'll go to the next thing, which is we'll actually start the registration process now. Now there are a couple of things regarding what sort of browser and system you should be using. So you can use Mozilla, Chrome, Microsoft Edge. I'm assuming most of you are on Chrome, so this should not be an issue. One strong recommendation from my side is to not use mobile phone to register. This is a very, very important thing. Please don't register using your mobile phone. Try to use a laptop or a computer. It will just make your life easier. Now moving on to the next thing, which is the data. Now a lot of times students have this question as to why are they capturing all my data. So they are clearly given as to for what purposes it will be used. You can just quickly go through this. Now regarding instructions, so there are some very important things here. Firstly, the user ID and password, right? So whenever you are going to create your account, you're going to get a user ID, right? And the password. So using that only you will be able to log in. Now ensure that you put the correct name, email ID, date of birth and all the details, because you will not be able to change it at a later point of time. So in case you make any mistakes at this stage itself, you will have to create a fresh account using some other mobile number and some other email ID. Just to avoid all of this, ensure that you put the right information the first time itself. Now let's look at the registration screen first. Okay, so once you click on new candidate registration, the first thing that it is going to ask you is the name of the candidate. Now here it is clearly mentioned that it has to be entered exactly as it appears on your 10th SSC certificate. Only alphabets are allowed. So you're supposed to enter the way it appears on your mark sheet. The next thing is date of birth. So you can just simply select it. These are all very easy things, so I think I don't have to explain it too much. You can click here, enter your date of birth. Post that, email address. Ensure that you put something that you use on a daily basis, something that you're not going to change throughout the admission process. So email address, you have to enter the same thing again. Select the country, the mobile number, and you have to confirm the mobile number. Once you do this, at the bottom you will see an option which says generate OTP, and post that you will get 2 OTPs. One on your mobile number and one on your email. You have to put both of them, validate it, and once you validate, you're going to get a confirmation screen, right? So this will get validated, then there is an I agree button. You click on that and then you're done. So what this does is it creates your account. Now one very good thing that CAT has done this time is there is a lot of error proofing done in the entire form, because of which people will make fewer mistakes. So one of the examples of that is this. That once you enter that initial information, it shows that, okay, this is the information that I've entered. So this is my name, date of birth, email address and all of that. And I have to click here to confirm that I have gone through this detail and this is correct. Now once I do that, right, once I complete the CAPTCHA, I'm going to get a confirmation. The confirmation says registration successful, user ID password has been sent to your email address and mobile number. Make sure that you write this down somewhere. I know that it will stay in your inbox and your SMS history. Don't have to worry about it too much, but it is always better to have one place where you write down all user ID password, not only for CAT but for all other exams as well, so that you don't search for it. Now let's move on, let's go to the next part. So once you begin, now I've completed the registration process, my account has been created. Now I'll actually start filling the form. The first thing that I'll start with is applicant details. So in applicant details, it will just reflect all the things that you have entered, your user ID that got created, your name that you entered, email ID, date of birth, country, all the information that you had entered. It will get populated, you will be able to see it here. Then you have to click here, which is go to application. And then we'll actually start filling the application form. So let's move on. And now for go to, once you click on go to application, there are different tabs that you see at the top. So currently we are on the personal details. Let's start with the specifics that are there. So firstly, the candidate name. So candidate name is something that you had entered, so it gets populated. And now they ask you specifically what is your first name and what is your middle name and last name. As you can see, the first name and only the first name is mandatory. The middle name and the last name, these are optional. Then you have father's guardian's name, mother's guardian's name, and spouse's name if that is applicable. The last one is an optional field. So you fill all of this information, then you can move forward. Now moving on to the next set of personal details, you start with date of birth, again pre-populated. Gender you can select, there are 3 options, male, female, transgender. Nationality you can select, and then you have to select your category. There is a question after that, which is do you belong to persons with disabilities, PWD category? And if you click on yes, there are some follow-up questions. Now depending on which category you select, there are going to be follow-up questions and you will have to upload the documents that are needed. So let me show you some examples of that. So let's say for example, you select EWS as the category, right? Let's understand what all questions they have asked. So once you select EWS, there is certificate issue date, the state or the union territory of the category, and post that you have the serial or entry number of the caste, then caste or tribe name, and you can fill all of this information. Similarly for NCOBC, if you select that certificate issue date, the state or the union territory, the serial or entry number of the caste. Now a lot of times students have questions on this, and one very good thing that they have done is there is this I button here, right? So next to this serial entry number you see I. If you click on that, right, you will be taken to the website, the Government of India website, on which you will be able to find the details of the caste, right? So there is a dedicated website for this. If you click on this, you will be able to find that information. So those of you who are struggling with that information, you know that just clicking on this I will be able to solve that problem. Similarly, caste community name, there is a help button there. You can click on that and you will be able to find it. Moving on to the next category, which is SC. So if you select SC, again, state, union territory, serial entry number has to be entered. Caste name, you see I there as well. You can click on it and find more information if you need. And finally for ST, again the same set of questions. So category ST, state, union territory, serial entry number, and the tribe name. Again, there is a help button there. Any questions you have, right, you can just go to that website and find out more information. Once you complete this section, and depending on what choice you have made, you will have to upload the relevant document that are there. Now moving on to the next thing, which is the address line, right? Now for address line, you can enter all of this information. I'll just take you back a little bit, because if you select PWD yes, right, then there are questions related to PWD. So what kind of disability is there? Is it something which is measurable? And so on and so forth, right? So all those questions are there. If it is applicable to you, you can select yes and fill that information. You will have to upload the certificate, right? So they have given, there are follow-up questions. If you select yes, you can fill that and move on. Now moving forward to the next thing, which is communication address, right? So here you can enter the communication address, very simple thing, not going to explain it too much. You can enter all of this. Primary email address is going to be pre-populated. Alternate email address is optional. You can give something and ensure that you give something which is valid, something that you use. Mobile number is going to be populated again. And there is a question whether the permanent address is same as correspondence address. So typically they are not going to send you anything, so don't worry about it. But if you have different addresses, you can enter it. If it is the same, you can simply click on yes. Now permanent address, so here again there are fields, very easy to do. So you can enter all of this information, and there is emergency contact detail. Now in emergency contact detail, you have to just enter the mobile number of the person and what is the relationship that you have with the person. So these two questions are there, you can enter it. Now depending on what you selected initially, on the same page you will have to upload the documents. So as you can see, firstly, photograph signature is something that everybody has to do. But now because I had made some choices at the top, so I had selected category, I had selected PWD and so on. These are the options that it is giving me. So starting from the photograph, signature, and here they have given some samples, okay? So if there is an option here which says please click here, you can see the sample of the photographs. It's no rocket science, it's very, very simple. You just take a passport size photo and you're good to go. But if you want, you can have a look at that. So photograph and signature. Now the good thing is, and again this error proofing thing comes into picture, once you upload this, you will be able to see one option here which says view. Now unless you view it, it will not allow you to go ahead, and that's a very good thing, because let's say in a hurry you end up making a mistake. So instead of photograph, you upload somebody else's photograph. You'll at least be able to see at that stage, and then only you proceed to the next one. Now regarding the copies of the certificate, whether it is caste certificate or the PWD certificate, you have to understand that they are going to take only PDF. Okay, so they have clearly mentioned there that they will accept only PDF. So ensure that you have that and then only upload in this section. Okay, great. So once you're done, we are now moving to the next part, which is going to be academic details. And again, very, very important thing. A lot of times people end up making mistake in this, so be careful. Now let's start with firstly the 10th standard. So board name, month, year of completion, all of these are obvious fields. But maximum marks, please enter this carefully. Total marks that you obtained, very important thing, inclusive of all subjects. Don't do anything as best of 5, best of this and all of that. Whatever appears on your mark sheet, you have to take all those subjects and take all the subjects for maximum marks and obtained marks. You have to calculate aggregate percentage. It doesn't calculate on its own. So you have to do obtained divided by maximum, get the percentage up to 2 decimal points. So they have given some examples of that. Have a look at this as to how they are going to do the rounding off, and then you can calculate and enter it. Okay, so straightforward. But again, keep that thing in mind. Everything on the mark sheet has to be considered. Now regarding the conversion, because some of you, for example, may not have the concept of marks, right? In that case, there could be a conversion that is given as to how do you convert your grades to marks, grades to percentage. So whatever is the formula that is given by the university or the board where you have studied, you're supposed to use that as it is. Okay. For example, a 10 GPA will not translate to 100%, depending on again which board you're talking about. In case, let's say for example, the conversion is given as into 9.5, you will have to do 10 into 9.5 and 95% is what you will have to enter. Okay, so keep that in mind while you're filling this particular section. Now moving on to the 12th standard. So very similar to what you have for the 10th standard, starting from whether it is 12th equivalent, 12th or equivalent, and then diploma. So I'll show you how it looks depending on what you select. Maximum marks, total marks that are obtained, and aggregate percentage. Okay, so same thing, you have to include all the subjects. You have to use the conversion if it is not given, and then enter this information. So now let's say you select diploma. Okay, let's look at the follow-up questions that are there. So if you select diploma, it asks you for duration of diploma, the month and year of course commencement, completion, maximum marks, total marks, aggregate percentage. If you have selected 12th, then board, month and year of completion, discipline, maximum marks, total marks, and aggregate percentage. Again, at all of these places, there's nice error proofing that is done. For example, if let's say for the 10th you had entered something like a June, let's say 2020 as your starting, right, or as the completion, sorry, June 2020, and if you enter this as let's say Jan 2020, it will not accept it if you enter let's say the starting, right, because there is a start of the completion, the course as well. So there is a lot of error proofing that is done, which is a very good thing, so that you will not make any mistakes while you're entering this information. Moving on to the next section, which is bachelor's degree, and this is where again a lot of confusion happens. Students don't know what exactly needs to be done. Simple thing, are you in the final year or you're not in the final year? Now if you have completed your graduation or you're not completed your graduation, you know answers to those questions, you can enter that. Now that will decide what the follow-up questions are going to be. So there I've selected yes, I'm still in the final year, and it is asking me duration of the degree, in which semester I am at this point of time. What is the type of university, like state, central, and so on. The state, union territory of the university, the name of the university or the institute name, Name of college. Now you'll see that there's a drop down here, but there's no drop down here. So the name of the college, you can enter it in whatever way you want to enter. And finally, the name of the degree. Now there are a lot of options. If your degree does not appear, you select others. Okay. Now in discipline, for example, you can say commerce, graduation stream. There are a lot of options. So graduation stream has only two options: engineering, non-engineering. Discipline has a lot of options. Okay. Then month and year of course commencement and completion, and then marks percentage. If you hover over this I button, it will clearly say that you have to enter marks of all the semesters that you have obtained so far. So anything that you have received so far, you are supposed to enter or calculate or consider all of it, and then only calculate your marks or percentage. Okay. And then there is a question whether you are undergoing dual or 5-year integrated course. If it is applicable, you can fill that information. Now let's say you select, I'm not in the final year of bachelor's degree, I've completed my bachelor's education. Duration, type, so these are all similar questions, name of college, degree name and all of that. Similarly for discipline, right? I've just filled some random information, but the questions under discipline and from discipline, they remain more or less the same. The only change that happens for the previous one is that there is that tooltip where they say that you have to enter all the semesters that you have obtained. Even for your those of you who have completed it, while you are entering this, you have to consider all the semesters. So it's not only the final year that you are supposed to enter, you have to consider all the semesters or trimesters that you have had in the entire program and then fill the percentage that are awarded. Now regarding the next, you have the month and year of completion, percentage awarded by university and all of that, and then whether the 5-year program is applicable or not. And if you have a dual degree, then what you are supposed to do. Or let's say if you're somebody who has more than one bachelor's degree, then what you're supposed to do. So all of that is straightforward, it is given. The rest of the logic remains the same. So you consider all semesters, you enter start of the course, end of the course, and all of that. So that remains exactly the same. Okay. Now let's move on to masters. So let's say for you, masters is applicable. You can select yes. Questions are again exactly the same. So fill the information. There are two options, in progress or completed. So let's say you've done, let's say your MCOM part 1, you can say yes, you can say in progress and put the rest of the information. We'll move on from now. The next section is regarding professional qualification. So the first question says, are you a fellow of the Institute of Actuaries of India? Yes, no. If you select yes, final aggregate marks, commencement and completion year. If you select yes for CA, CS, ICWA, then you can enter whether you are, which degree you are doing first of all, and what is the status. Are you in progress or have you completed it? Depending on what you select here, there are follow-up questions. So name of professional degree, professional inter marks. So I had chosen CA, professional final marks, then month and year of course commencement and completion and all of that. So depending on the choices that you make, you have to fill the rest of the details. Now once you're done, we come to the next section, which is work experience. Now the definition of work experience is very, very clear. It has to be full-time, remunerative after graduation. So enter your work ex as on July 31st. Only full-time experience after graduation must be entered. So any part-time project, internship, articleship, pre-graduation work experience that you have, that will not be considered as work experience. Now what you need to do is you need to select the type of industry. Let's say you are into something which is not listed. There are quite a few options listed under industry type. But if you belong to something which is not listed, you can always select others. But for example, you can, let's say you work in automobile, right? You select that first. You enter start date and end date. Now there's a question which says break in experience. For example, if let's say you had taken a sabbatical for a month, right? Which during which particular time you were not working. So you can indicate that. Or let's say there was a long break because of some other reason. You can just put how many days of break it was. If there was no break, you put a 0 there and it will auto calculate what is the total experience in days. Once you have entered all the information, so once I complete that, okay, I have multiple experiences, I enter those, it will finally calculate total work experience. Now they have given that candidates or independent professionals like lawyers, doctors can enter their work experience detail in other field. So there's other field at the bottom. You select that, enter start date, end date. If there was any gap, it will auto calculate. Finally, there will be a total, and this will show you the total work experience that the CAT form is going to consider. Okay, let's move on to the next section, which is again very important, which is the program selection. Now in program selection, there is a safe option. The safe option is select all, and I would suggest that please try and do that. Okay, so rather than worrying too much which programs I should be selecting and all of that, simply click on select all. That is like the safest thing to do. The only thing that you will have to think of is you have to select interview city preferences for every single option that you put. So when you do click on select all, you will have to indicate interview city preference 1, 2 or whatever it is. In some cases it is only one preference. You have to enter that for every single thing that you have mentioned. Now what you can exclude, okay, if you want to be a little bit selective, because in case you want to, you can do that, is for example, let's say PhD programs. Now PhD programs also appear here. If you clearly know that I don't want to be considered for PhD or I'm not eligible for PhD, then what's the point of filling it, right? But other programs which are, let's say, PGP Finance or PGP LSM or let's say HR or Analytics or whatever, just ensure that you apply for all the programs. Don't be selective, it's a request, because what happens is, and we have noticed this often, is people at this point get into the selective mode and they say, okay, I just want to get into the old IIM, so I'll select those and all of that, and then they regret the choice that they have made. So instead of that, click on select all, safest thing to do. Otherwise, at least the 2-year full-time programs across, no matter which IIM it is, you make those choices, select all of it, and then move forward. Now, one change that has happened from last year is the number of cities that are available. So till last year, they were giving 6 city options. Now there are 5 city preferences. So what you need to do is you can enter 5 preferences. The good thing is that the state city combination is given. So when you start entering the state, so let's say preference 1, I start entering the state, it will show me all the options that are there in that state. So if I start from Maharashtra, it will start showing me all the options that are available. So you enter all the city preferences, 5 is mandatory, you have to select all 5 preferences. This is the one that is the most preferred. So purely from the distance perspective or convenience perspective, you can put the nearest one as the first one and the one which is farthest from your house as the last one. Very simple thing to do. Once you are done, click on save and next. That more or less concludes the discussion. We are towards the final stage, which is the payment, right? But before payment, there is declaration. So at this stage, if there are any changes to be made, you can still do it. But once you click on declaration that, okay, I have verified everything, you will not be able to rectify. And that is why at this point of time, be very, very careful. It will show you how much money you are supposed to pay. So that is something that is given. So if you are open, then 2500. If you belong to category, then 1250, right? So it will be shown here. You're then just supposed to make the payment. But as I said, before you make the final payment, click on this, which is I have previewed the information, by actually going through the application. Okay, so don't just put a tick there and proceed, because editing of any data filed, any data field after submission is not possible. If the amount is deducted from your account and not reflected, etc., please wait for 48 hours. The important thing is this, that editing of any data field after submission is not possible. So there is a preview option here at the bottom. You click on that, go through the entire form, ensure that you have entered everything correctly, and once you're satisfied, that once you're completely confident that, okay, I've entered everything correct, you can click on submit. Post this, you'll not be able to edit. Okay, so once you click on submit and once your payment is done, it will show you a success message. Your application has been submitted, your payment is successful, and you will also get a confirmation on your email. So once you're done with this, your CAT application is over. You have completed the entire form. The only thing that you need to do from here is prepare for the test really well. But before we close this particular video, a couple of things that I want to share with all of you. Number one is the FAQ section, right? A lot of times students don't go through this and they keep asking questions to various people. Now the problem is you might end up getting incorrect information from some of them. So people go to different channels, they post comments there. There's no harm in doing that, but just ensure that you're getting information from the right sources. And that is why don't rely on somebody, let's say on a particular, maybe some social media where people are just writing about it. Because if you enter the wrong category, right, and you're not able to submit those documents at the stage of admission, your admission will get cancelled. So there have been cases where, for example, people have submitted an EWS or an NCOBC certificate which was not valid, and at the time of admission they do scrutiny, and in case it is found that you have entered wrong information, you try to get into the institute using unfair means, they can throw you out. So that is why please go through the FAQ section. It is extremely nicely written. I really liked all the questions that they have covered. They do it every year. So again, it's not something that they have done new this year, but please have a look at this. Okay, most of your questions will get answered if you go through the FAQ section. If you still have any questions, you can leave a comment, you can reach out to your IMS mentors and we'll help you out. For example, under which categories can I apply for CAT? A very basic question that somebody may have. General, EWS, NCOBC, SC, ST, PWD, right? Which document should I submit if I belong to SC, ST category? If you click here, there's a description that this is the Government of India website on which you can go. You can check whether your caste or category belongs to either SC or ST. Then what documents will be required if you belong to NCOBC, right? So somebody that day sent me a document from 2017. So this is a OBC certificate from 2017, and they asked me, is it valid? It's NCOBC, right? So you have to have the validity of the certificate as well. So if it is invalid, they're not going to accept it. So all of those data points, the details are available here. Have a look at that. Do I belong to EWS category? Some of you may have that question also, because you don't know what is your income or what is the combined family income. In that case, have a look at the documentation. Government has given very clear documentation on it. Once you have a look at it, your questions will get answered. If you still have any questions, you can let us know. So I hope this has helped. Thank you so much for joining. I wish all of you all the best. Start filling the form. If you have any questions, let us know. All the best. Take care.